Hello, and welcome to Infidelity Tales Lab. Your support means everything to us. We'd love to know, which geographical location are you joining from today? At home? On the go? Share with us below. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. Foundations of Sand. Russell Dawson wiped sweat from his brow as he inspected the foundation of the Patterson project. 23 years as a structural engineer had earned him respect in construction circles. But at home, that respect had eroded like poorly mixed concrete. Mr. Dawson, the support beams arrived, called out Manny, his most reliable foreman. Perfect timing. Let's get them installed before the storm rolls in, Russell replied, his weathered hands already reaching for his hard hat. At 52, Russell's body carried the marks of a man who believed in honest work. Calloused palms, a permanent tan, and crow's feet from squinting at blueprints under the sun. His salt and pepper hair had begun thinning, but his sturdy frame remained strong from decades on construction sites. Russell had deliberately chosen to remain a hands-on structural engineer rather than climbing into executive roles. The decision allowed him to maintain a modest but comfortable lifestyle for his family while still experiencing the satisfaction of creating something tangible. It was a choice his wife had initially supported but grew to resent. The drive home to their four-bedroom colonial in Oak Ridge Estates took 40 minutes. Russell used the time to mentally transition from work to home, though lately that transition felt like walking from one job site to another. Vanessa's pearl-white Lexus SUV sat in the driveway alongside their daughter, Zoe's blue Volkswagen. Russell parked his 10-year-old Ford truck beside them, the contrast between vehicles a visual metaphor for the growing divide in their household. "I'm home," he called out, stepping into the foyer. The house answered with the echoes of Vanessa's animated voice coming from the kitchen. Russell followed the sound to find his wife, his sister-in-law Pamela, and his two children gathered around the kitchen island with wine glasses and laughter that ceased when he entered. "Oh, Russell, we didn't hear you come in," Vanessa said, her smile tightening at the corners. At 49, Vanessa Dawson maintained the polished appearance of a woman determined to defy aging. Highlighted blonde hair falling in perfect waves to her shoulders, tasteful makeup enhancing her blue eyes, and a slender figure preserved through religious attendance at her exclusive gym. "Dad, you've got dirt on your shirt again," said Zoe, his 19-year-old daughter, her voice carrying the familiar note of disapproval. Attending the state university on Russell's dime, Zoe had adopted her mother's priorities: appearance, status, and the relentless pursuit of whatever the Winters family had. Caleb, his 17-year-old son, barely looked up from his phone. "Hey, Dad," he muttered, fingers never pausing their dance across the screen. Once an enthusiastic fishing partner, Caleb had drifted away as adolescence introduced him to Vanessa's value system. "Russell, just the man we were talking about," Pamela declared with theatrical enthusiasm. Pamela Winters, Vanessa's younger sister by 2 years, had married Owen Winters, a pharmaceutical sales director whose income fueled the lifestyle that Vanessa coveted. "Is that right?" Russell asked, washing his hands at the sink. "We were just discussing summer plans," Vanessa explained, refilling her wine glass with practiced precision. "Pamela and Owen are taking the yacht to Monte Carlo, then spending 2 weeks in their Paris apartment." Russell nodded politely. The Winters' travel plans had long ago ceased to impress him, though they continued to enchant his wife. "Sounds nice. Speaking of summer plans, I've been finalizing our details. I found this amazing spot at—" "Dad, please tell me we're not going camping again," Zoe interrupted, exchanging a glance with her mother. "It's not just camping," Russell explained, his enthusiasm undimmed. "It's an exclusive lakeside site at Canyon Ridge. Private dock, premium fishing spots, and guided nature hikes. I've been on the waiting list for 2 years." The silence that followed felt like concrete setting around his feet. "Oh, Russell," Vanessa sighed, exchanging a look with Pamela. "We can't possibly. Not this year." "Why not?" "I've already put down the deposit," Russell said. "Because it's embarrassing," Caleb muttered, finally looking up from his phone. "All my friends are going to Europe or the Caribbean." Russell felt something harden inside him. Since when did spending time together as a family become embarrassing? "It's not the togetherness that's embarrassing, Dad," Zoe explained with exaggerated patience. It's the where and how. I mean, outhouses and bug spray. Really? Canyon Ridge has full facilities, actually. Modern cabins with. Russell, Vanessa cut in. The Pattersons invited us to their Hampton house for a weekend. That's the kind of connection we need to be making, not hiding in the woods. Russell looked around the kitchen at the four faces regarding him with various degrees of pity and exasperation. In that moment, he realized something had fundamentally shifted in his home. The foundation he thought he'd built his family upon had developed cracks he couldn't see until now. I see, he said quietly. Well, the reservation is paid for. I'll go alone if I have to. Don't be ridiculous, Vanessa replied, her tone suggesting he was being deliberately difficult. No one goes on family vacations alone. We're going to Paris with Aunt Pamela, Caleb announced, not meeting Russell's eyes. Mom already said yes. Russell turned to his wife, eyebrows raised in question. Vanessa at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. I was going to discuss it with you tonight. Pamela has offered to let us use their apartment while they're in Monte Carlo. It's the opportunity of a lifetime for the kids. And what about our family vacation? The one we've taken every year since the kids were born. Times change, Russell, Pamela interjected. Children grow up. Priorities shift. Apparently so, Russell replied, his voice steady despite the betrayal burning in his chest. He turned and walked out of the kitchen, heading to their bedroom to shower away the day's work and, he hoped, the sting of his family's disdain. Behind him, he heard Pamela's stage whisper, "This is exactly why I told you to talk to him about investments. Owen's friend Vincent could double your money in a year, and then maybe you wouldn't have to vacation like you're still in college." Russell closed the bedroom door, shutting out their voices but not the cold reality that somewhere along the way, he had become a stranger in his own home. Chapter 2. The Mockery. The next evening's dinner had been planned for weeks. Ostensibly a celebration of Pamela and Owen's wedding anniversary, the gathering at Maplewood Country Club was, like most events involving the Winters, an opportunity for status display. Russell adjusted his tie in the hallway mirror, hearing Vanessa's impatient footsteps upstairs. She'd been particularly tense all day, checking her phone frequently and engaging in hushed conversations he wasn't meant to overhear. "Are you ready yet?" Vanessa called down, her voice sharp with anxiety. "We can't be late." "Been ready for 20 minutes, Russell answered, watching as she descended the stairs in a new dress he didn't recognize. The price tag had undoubtedly been removed before it reached their closet. "You're wearing that tie?" She frowned at the navy silk he'd chosen. "What's wrong with my tie?" "Nothing," she sighed. "It's fine. Let's just go." The drive to the country club passed in uncomfortable silence, interrupted only by Vanessa's occasional text messages. Russell had once found her devotion to her sister endearing. Now, he recognized it for what it was, aspiration wrapped in sisterly affection. The Maplewood Country Club gleamed with old money and new renovations. Russell handed his keys to the valet, noting how the young man's eyes lingered appreciatively on his restored '67 Mustang, the one luxury Russell had allowed himself, painstakingly restored with his own hands over 5 years of weekends. Vanessa had called it his midlife crisis. Russell called it therapy. Inside, the anniversary dinner was already underway in a private dining room. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over round tables adorned with elaborate floral centerpieces. The Winters' 40 closest friends, most of whom Russell barely knew, mingled over cocktails and passed hors d'oeuvres. "There you are," Pamela exclaimed, air-kissing Vanessa's cheeks. "We were about to send a search party." "Traffic," Vanessa explained, though there had been none. Owen Winters approached, cocktail in hand. "Russell, good to see you, man. How's the building business?" "Engineering business is steady," Russell corrected mildly. "Patterson Tower is on schedule for completion next quarter." Good. Owen nodded distractedly, his eyes already scanning the room. "Oh, Vincent's here. You two should talk. He's got some investment ideas that will be perfect for you." Before Russell could respond, Owen was steering him toward a tall, slender man with expertly styled silver hair and a smile that calculated your net worth before your handshake ended. "Vincent Harmon, meet Russell Dawson." Russell's in construction. Structural engineering. Russell amended, accepting Vincent's firm handshake. Engineering. Even better, Vincent replied with practiced enthusiasm. Analytical mind. You must have a solid portfolio strategy. Russell shrugged. Conservative investments, healthy 401k, some property. Nothing fancy, but stable. Vincent's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. While stability is one approach, I prefer growth myself. Significant growth. And risk, Russell added. Vincent laughed, a sound like expensive ice cubes clinking in crystal. Calculated risk is just opportunity with a warning label, my friend. We should talk more over dinner. As they moved to their assigned table, Russell found himself seated between Vanessa and a woman he didn't know, with Vincent directly across from them. Zoe and Caleb had been placed at the young adults table with Pamela's children and other offspring of the winter social circle. The dinner conversation flowed around topics Russell had little interest in: stock tips, vacation properties, private schools, and country club politics. He contributed when addressed, but otherwise focused on his surprisingly good steak, calculating how many work lunches from the food truck it equaled. So, Russell, Pamela's voice cut through his thoughts. Vanessa tells me you're still determined to go camping this summer. The table's attention shifted to him, conversation pausing as glasses were lifted and eyebrows raised. Canyon Ridge, Russell corrected. It's a premium outdoor adventure resort. Not just camping. Outdoor adventure. Owen repeated with poorly disguised amusement. Like what? Bears and mosquitoes. Laughter rippled around the table. World-class fishing, actually, Russell replied evenly. Plus hiking trails, kayaking, and wilderness photography workshops. It's quite exclusive. Exclusive camping, Vincent chuckled. Now, there's an oxymoron. More laughter, louder this time. Russell felt Vanessa stiffen beside him. It sounds very rustic, offered a woman whose name Russell couldn't recall. While you're swatting mosquitoes, we'll be sipping espresso at sidewalk cafes in Paris, Pamela announced, raising her glass. Owen's lending Vanessa and the kids our apartment for 2 weeks. Russell turned to his wife. Is that right? Vanessa's cheeks flushed. We discussed this, Russell. No, you mentioned it. We never discussed it. An uncomfortable silence settled over the table. Well, Vincent interjected smoothly. Paris in summer is magical. The kids will love it. So will Vanessa, Pamela added with a meaningful look at her sister. Vincent has offered to show them all his favorite spots, since he'll be in Paris on business that same week. Russell looked from Pamela to Vincent, noting the subtle exchange of glances between them, then to Vanessa, whose focus remained fixed on her wine glass. How convenient, he said quietly. Before Vanessa could respond, Zoe approached their table, Caleb trailing behind her. Mom, Aunt Pamela says we need to start looking at travel outfits this weekend, she announced, pointedly ignoring her father. Camping clothes are easy, Russell remarked. REI is having a sale. Zoe rolled her eyes dramatically. Dad, we're going to Paris, not playing Boy Scouts in the woods. We're going to Paris, Vanessa corrected, emphasizing the we while avoiding Russell's gaze. Your father still wants to go camping. Seriously, Dad? Caleb groaned. Why can't you just do normal vacation things like everybody else's parents? Yeah, Zoe added. It's so embarrassing. Madison's family is chartering a yacht in Greece, and you want us to sleep in a tent. It's a luxury cabin, Russell said, his patience waning. A luxury cabin is still a cabin, Dad, Zoe countered, exchanging a smirk with Caleb. Pamela lifted her glass. To Paris and civilization, she declared with a theatrical wink. To Paris, the table echoed, glasses clinking. Enjoy your campsite, Russell, Owen called out, his voice carrying across the table. Maybe you can teach squirrels to water ski for entertainment. As laughter erupted around him, Russell saw his family joining in. Vanessa's laugh a bit too high, a bit too relieved. Zoe and Caleb no longer bothering to hide their disdain. It's just so embarrassing, Vanessa murmured, not quite under her breath, her eyes meeting Vincent's across the table. Russell placed his napkin beside his plate and stood up. If you'll excuse me, he said to no one in particular, and walked out of the dining room, the laughter fading behind him. In the club's hushed lobby, Russell paused by a large window overlooking the perfectly manicured golf course. 25 years of marriage, 25 years of providing stability, security, and what he thought was happiness, all reduced to mockery over dinner. He reached into his pocket and felt the lottery ticket he'd purchased that morning, a small weekly ritual he'd maintained for years. $5 a week for a moment's dream of possibility. Vanessa had once called it his poor man's retirement plan. Perhaps she was right. As he stared out at the darkening landscape, Russell made a decision. If his family was determined to forge their path without him, he would let them. But first, he would see if fortune might change the terms of their separation. Chapter 3. The Windfall. Monday mornings at Dawson Structural Engineering always began the same way. Staff meeting at 7:30, site visit scheduled, weekly goals established. Russell had built his small firm's reputation on reliability and integrity, values that seemed increasingly rare in both business and personal relationships. "Morning, boss," greeted Darlene, his office manager of 15 years. "Coffee's fresh." Peterson called about the community center plans. "Thanks, Darlene," Russell replied, accepting the mug she offered. "Any other messages?" "Just the usual." "Oh, and lottery numbers came in. Want me to check your ticket?" It was their Monday ritual. Russell would buy his ticket, Darlene would check it, and they'd share a moment of, maybe next time, camaraderie before starting the work week. "Sure," he said, fishing the ticket from his wallet and handing it over. "Let me know when I can retire." Russell settled at his desk, reviewing the Patterson Tower specifications while Darlene looked up the winning numbers on her computer. The weekend's events had left him distracted, his thoughts circling back to the dinner and his family's behavior. Russell." Darlene's voice sounded strange from the front desk. "Problem with the Peterson project?" he called back. She appeared in his doorway, face pale. "You need to check these numbers." Russell looked up, noting her expression. "What's wrong?" "Just check them, please." She placed the ticket and a printout of the winning numbers on his desk. Russell glanced down, comparing the two rows of digits with mild curiosity that quickly transformed into disbelief. "That can't be right," he murmured, checking again. 6 numbers, perfectly matched. "I checked 3 times," Darlene whispered. "You need to sign the back of that ticket right now." Russell stared at the paper, mind racing. The jackpot had been advertised at $300 million. After taxes and the lump sum reduction, perhaps $170 million. The number was incomprehensible. "Don't tell anyone," he said finally, his voice unnaturally calm as he signed the ticket. "Not even your husband?" "Not yet." Darlene nodded, eyes wide. "What are you going to do?" The question hung in the air while Russell's mind raced through possibilities. Images flashed through his consciousness. Vanessa's contemptuous expression at dinner, Zoe and Caleb's mockery, Vincent's calculating smile, Pamela's smug satisfaction. "First, I'm going to call Diana Mercer," he decided, referring to the attorney who handled his business contracts. "Then I'm going to finish the Patterson specifications. After that, I'm not sure yet." "Russell," Darlene said gently, "you just won the lottery. You could take the day off." He shook his head. "No, today needs to look like any other day. I need time to think." By noon, Russell had met with Diana Mercer, who specialized in both business and lottery law. Within her sleek downtown office, they discussed strategies for claiming the prize anonymously through a trust, protecting the windfall from public scrutiny and potential predators. "Most winners make the mistake of announcing their good fortune immediately," Diana explained, her tailored suit and no-nonsense demeanor a contrast to the surreal conversation. "That's when the vultures descend. Long-lost relatives, investment opportunities, charity cases." "I'm more concerned about immediate family," Russell admitted. "My wife and I, things haven't been good." Diana's expression remained professionally neutral. "Then timing becomes crucial. Once you claim this prize, depending on your state's laws regarding marital property, your wife may be entitled to a significant portion regardless of your marital status." "What are you suggesting?" "I'm not suggesting anything," Diana replied carefully. "I'm advising you to consider your complete financial and personal picture before we proceed. Assets acquired during marriage are typically considered joint property." Russell nodded, understanding the implication. How long do I have to claim? 90 days. I recommend using some of that time wisely. By the time Russell returned to his office, he'd formulated the beginnings of a plan. The lottery win hadn't created his family problems. It had simply illuminated the decision point he'd been approaching for months, perhaps years. That evening, Russell arrived home to find Vanessa and the kids gathered around the kitchen island, travel brochures spread before them. The Louvre is non-negotiable, Vanessa was saying. And we absolutely must see Versailles. What about Disneyland Paris? Caleb asked. Zoe rolled her eyes. We're not children, Caleb. We need to focus on cultural experiences. Like shopping on the Champs-Élysées, Vanessa added with a smile. Russell cleared his throat, announcing his presence. 3 heads turned toward him, their expressions shifting from excitement to guarded neutrality. Planning the Paris trip? He asked mildly. Just discussing options, Vanessa replied. How was work? Interesting day, Russell said, pouring himself a glass of water. The Patterson project is coming along, and I canceled our Canyon Ridge reservation. Surprise flashed across Vanessa's face. You did? What? You were right, he said, watching their reactions. Family vacations should be about what everyone wants. If everyone wants Paris, there's no point in me going to Canyon Ridge alone. Relief visibly washed over the 3 faces before him. Vanessa approached, laying a conciliatory hand on his arm. That's very understanding of you, Russell. We'll plan something you'll enjoy next year, I promise. Sure, he replied, gently removing her hand. I'll be in the garage. Don't wait dinner for me. In the sanctuary of his workshop, surrounded by tools and the half-finished boat model he'd been building, Russell finally allowed himself to process the day's events. The lottery win presented not just financial freedom, but a rare opportunity to see people's true characters revealed. He thought of the camping trip his family had so disdained. How different their reaction would be if they knew about the $300 million. The Paris trip they were so eagerly planning, using his regular salary, would pale compared to what they could demand with knowledge of his windfall. Russell picked up a chisel, feeling its solid weight in his palm. He'd spent his life building buildings, a business, a family. Now it seemed it was time to build something new, a life based on truth rather than obligation. He reached for his phone and dialed a number. Leo, it's Russell. Remember that island property you mentioned last year? Is it still available? On the other end, his college roommate and now successful real estate developer laughed. Still dreaming, Russ? That place was snapped up months ago. Unless you've got about 15 million lying around, it's out of your league. Russell smiled for the first time that day. Actually, I might have recently come into some funds. Can you set up a viewing? Discreetly. As he hung up, Russell felt a strange sense of calm settle over him. While his family plotted their Paris adventure, he would be laying the groundwork for a very different future, one they couldn't begin to imagine. Chapter 4. The Island. The seaplane descended toward Azure Key, a 20-acre private island nestled in the turquoise waters of the Caribbean. From above, Russell could see white sand beaches curving around lush tropical vegetation, a central villa with a red-tiled roof, and several smaller structures scattered along the shoreline. She's a beauty, isn't she? Shouted the pilot over the engine noise. Previous owner barely used it. Some tech mogul who got busy with other projects. Russell nodded, eyes fixed on the pristine landscape below. 1 week after discovering his lottery win, he'd established the Horizon Trust with Diana Mercer's help and was now operating with the financial freedom few ever experienced. The lottery claim remained unfiled, giving him the time and space to move methodically. What's the infrastructure like? Russell asked as they circled for landing. Top-notch. Solar power system with battery storage. Satellite internet. Desalination plant for fresh water. Helipad on the north end. Dock can accommodate vessels up to 80 feet. The main house has 5 bedrooms, but there are 3 guest cottages too. Oh, and there's a staff quarters near the utilities building. The seaplane touched down on the water with a gentle splash, taxiing toward a wooden dock where a tall black man in crisp linen waited. That's Maurice, the pilot explained. Island manager. Been here 10 years through 3 owners. Knows every inch of the place. After docking, Russell stepped onto Azure Key, feeling a strange sense of homecoming. Maurice greeted him with a firm handshake and knowing eyes. "Welcome to Azure Key, Mr. Dawson. Mr. Nelson informed me you're interested in the property." "Just exploring options at this point," Russell replied, maintaining the facade of casual interest while his mind calculated structural integrity and sustainability options. The tour confirmed what the aerial view had promised. Azure Key was a self-contained paradise with the infrastructure to support comfortable, independent living. The main villa featured open-air design that maximized ocean breezes, with expansive decks and infinity pools that seemed to merge with the horizon. Previous owner gutted and rebuilt everything 5 years ago, Maurice explained as they walked through the main house. State-of-the-art systems, hurricane-resistant construction. The outbuildings were all updated too. Russell's trained, I noted the quality of workmanship throughout. The kind of solid, thoughtful construction he'd always advocated for, but rarely seen implemented without compromise. "What about staff?" Russell asked as they inspected the commercial-grade kitchen. "Currently skeletal. Myself as manager, a housekeeper, 2 maintenance workers, and a part-time chef. We can scale up depending on the owner's needs. Many guests bring their own staff for events." Russell nodded, already visualizing modifications. "And privacy? How secluded is it really?" Morris's expression turned serious. "Total privacy, sir. The nearest island is 12 miles away. We maintain strict protocols about visitors and have advanced security systems. No paparazzi has ever managed unauthorized access." By the tour's end, Russell had made his decision. The island represented not just a luxury purchase, but the foundation of his new life. A place where he could redefine himself away from the expectations and judgments that had slowly corroded his spirit. Later that evening, in his hotel suite in Nassau, Russell finalized the purchase with Leo Nelson over a secure video call. $15 million is a steal for that property, Leo assured him. The tech guy put twice that into renovations alone. "I want to proceed," Russell confirmed, "but with additional conditions. First, absolute confidentiality. The purchase must be through multiple shell companies, untraceable to me personally. Second, I need upgrades to the security systems and communications infrastructure. Third, I want to add a workshop facility, high-end, fully equipped for woodworking and design projects." Leo's eyebrows raised. "Planning to disappear, Russ?" "Planning to live on my own terms," Russell replied. "Can you make it happen?" "With $15 million in cash, I can make anything happen. But what about Vanessa and the kids? This is a major life change." Russell's expression hardened. "That's the final condition. No one, absolutely no one, knows about this until I'm ready. Not Vanessa, not the kids. No one." Leo studied his old friend's face. "Something happened beyond the lottery win, didn't it? Let's just say I've been given an opportunity to see people's true colors," Russell answered. "And I don't particularly like what I'm seeing." Over the next 3 weeks, Russell maintained his normal routine at work while orchestrating his new life through carefully encrypted communications. The Azure Key purchase proceeded through a labyrinth of corporate entities. Contractors were hired for the workshop construction and security upgrades. Maurice was retained with a generous salary increase and tasked with assembling a discreet, professional staff. At home, Russell observed his family with new clarity. Vanessa's Paris plans had expanded to include shopping excursions with Pamela and mysterious cultural tours that seemed to coincide with Vincent Harmon's business schedule. Zoe and Caleb rarely engaged with him beyond perfunctory greetings, their attention fixed on social media and preparations for their European adventure. One evening, as Russell reviewed architectural plans for his island workshop in his study, his phone buzzed with a text from Diana Mercer. "Financial restructuring complete. All new accounts established. Ready when you are." The message confirmed that his pre-lottery assets, substantial but not extraordinary, had been carefully separated from his impending windfall. Their family home, retirement accounts, and existing investments would remain untouched, providing Vanessa and the children with comfortable financial security regardless of what happened next. The lottery prize itself, however, would be claimed through the Horizon Trust, its ownership obscured through legal structures that would give Russell time to determine his path forward. As he set down his phone, Russell heard Vanessa's voice in the hallway, her tone hushed but intense. Yes, he's in his study. No, he doesn't suspect anything. Of course I'm sure. Russell moved silently to the door, listening as his wife continued her conversation. Vincent, we've been through this. Once we're in Paris, we'll have time to discuss everything. Yes, I know the opportunity won't last forever. No, I haven't mentioned investment possibilities yet. He's been distracted lately. Yes, I know how much we could make if he puts his retirement funds into your venture. A cold clarity washed over Russell. The Paris trip, Vincent's convenient business timing, the investment discussions. The pattern was now unmistakable. Whatever was happening between Vanessa and Vincent went beyond casual friendship. It involved plans for Russell's money. Rather than confront her, Russell returned to his desk and opened his laptop. It was time to accelerate his plans. First, he sent an email to Darlene authorizing a temporary leadership transition at his firm, promoting his most trusted project manager to acting director for a sabbatical of unspecified length. Next, he messaged Maurice. Prepare for arrival in 10 days. Full staffing and provisions. Finally, he wrote to Diana Mercer. Execute Phase 2. File lottery claim through trust as discussed. As Russell closed his laptop, a strange sense of peace settled over him. For years, he had built his life around providing for others who increasingly viewed him with contempt. Now, he would build something for himself, something true to his own values. The cage door was opening. All that remained was to step through it. Chapter 5. The Betrayal. The morning headline on the Oak Ridge Financial Times website was unmistakable. Local engineering firm owner claims $300 million lottery jackpot. Though the article named only the Horizon Trust as the official claimant, several sources close to the situation had confirmed Russell Dawson as the actual winner. Russell read the news on his tablet while sitting in his car outside Brewer's Coffee, a small shop 15 miles from his home where no one would recognize him. The timing was perfect. Exactly one day after Vanessa and the children had departed for Paris, their suitcases bulging with new clothes purchased for their European adventure. His phone began buzzing incessantly as the news spread. Calls from unknown numbers, texts from acquaintances he hadn't heard from in years, and finally, the inevitable message from Vanessa. Russell, is this true? Call me immediately. Russell silenced his phone and sipped his coffee, contemplating the cascade of events he had just initiated. The news had broken precisely as Diana had orchestrated, revealing enough to confirm his status as a lottery winner, but providing no details about the trust structure or his plans. By now, Vanessa would be frantically calling everyone they knew. Her Paris dream vacation suddenly transformed into a nightmare of missed opportunity. The children would be in shock, calculating all the luxuries they could have demanded had they known about his wealth before departing. And Vincent Harmon. Russell smiled coldly at the thought of the investment banker's reaction. Whatever scheme he and Vanessa had been planning for Russell's retirement funds would now seem laughably small compared to the jackpot that had slipped through their fingers. Russell finished his coffee and drove to a nondescript office building on the outskirts of the city. Inside, he was greeted by a balding man with alert eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Mr. Dawson? Frank Tillman, Sentinel Investigations. They shook hands and moved to a small conference room where Frank opened a laptop. I have the information you requested, Frank stated, his tone professional. Comprehensive surveillance over 3 weeks, digital communications monitoring, financial transaction analysis. All legally obtained through methods that would hold up in court, as specified. Russell nodded. Show me. For the next 2 hours, Russell reviewed the evidence of betrayal, meticulously documented, undeniable, and far worse than he had imagined. The first set of photos showed Vanessa and Vincent Harmon in intimate situations at a hotel 30 miles away. Weekly meetings carefully scheduled during times Russell was known to be at work sites. Text message logs revealed conversations dating back 8 months, filled with declarations of love and detailed discussions of their future together. The affair began approximately 10 months ago, Frank explained. Initially at social events through the Winters connection, then progressing to private meetings. Russell's face remained impassive as he swiped through the evidence. Years of managing construction crises had taught him to compartmentalize emotions during critical situations. "What about the financial angle?" he asked. Frank opened another file. "Mr. Harmon has been involved in several investment schemes of questionable legality. Nothing that has resulted in charges, but multiple clients have filed complaints with regulatory authorities. His current venture, Platinum Horizon Investments, shows all the markers of a sophisticated Ponzi scheme." The documentation revealed Vanessa and Vincent's plan. Convince Russell to invest his retirement savings and home equity in a Platinum Horizon, extract management fees and commissions, then leave him financially devastated while they escaped with the proceeds. Their timeline accelerated recently, Frank continued. Based on intercepted communications, they plan to finalize everything during the Paris trip. "And my children?" Russell asked, his voice betraying emotion for the first time. Frank's expression softened slightly. They were aware of the affair. There's evidence they helped cover for their mother on several occasions. Whether they knew about the investment scheme is less clear, though they were promised financial support for their future education and living expenses. Russell closed the laptop, his mind processing this final betrayal. His children, whom he had coached through Little League games, helped with science projects, taught to fish and build, had chosen sides, and it wasn't his. "There's one more thing," Frank said, sliding a sealed envelope across the table. "This wasn't part of our original investigation scope, but my analyst found it during the digital sweep and felt you should know." Inside the envelope was a printout of a text conversation between Zoe and Caleb from the previous week. "Zoe, did you see Dad's face when Mom told him about Paris? Like a sad puppy. Caleb, so pathetic. Can't believe we're related sometimes. Zoe, Vincent says once he and Mom are together, we can go to his beach house whenever we want. Caleb, better than camping with Dad, the lumberjack." "Oh, Zoe. Mom says once the investment thing goes through, Dad will have to sell the house. Good riddance to that embarrassment. Caleb, maybe he can live in a tent permanently. It's his natural habitat." Russell stared at the conversation, the casual cruelty of his children's words cutting deeper than anything else he had seen. The family he had devoted his life to building viewed him with nothing but contempt. "Thank you, Mr. Tillman," Russell said finally, his voice steady. "This is exactly what I needed to know." Back in his car, Russell made 3 calls in quick succession. First to Diana Mercer. "I've seen the evidence. Proceed with all preparations as discussed." Then to Maurice on Azure Key. "Arrival timeline accelerated. Prepare for helicopter arrival tomorrow." Finally, to Leo Nelson. "It's worse than I thought. I'm moving forward immediately. Is the exit strategy in place?" With his decisions confirmed, Russell drove home for the last time. He packed methodically, personal documents, family photographs, selected carefully, his father's watch, and a few treasured possessions that held genuine sentimental value. Everything else, the house and its contents, accumulated over 25 years of marriage. He was prepared to leave behind. In his workshop, Russell lingered over the boat models he had crafted over the years, each representing a construction project completed. Rather than take them, he selected a single unfinished model, the one he had been working on when he discovered Vanessa's betrayal. This incomplete project would accompany him to his island, a reminder of the life he was leaving behind and the new one he would build. As darkness fell, Russell completed his final task. He composed a brief email to Vanessa. "I know everything. About Vincent. About Paris. About the investment scheme. And about our children's involvement. The house and existing accounts are yours. Beyond that, you'll need to speak with my lawyer. I won't be available." He scheduled it to send in 24 hours, when he would be safely established on Azure Key. As Russell drove away from the house for the final time, his phone displayed 28 missed calls from Vanessa, along with dozens of texts demanding information about the lottery win. By morning, that number would multiply as news spread and the vultures circled. Russell smiled grimly. Let them call. Where he was going, their voices would be drowned out by the sound of ocean waves and the promise of a life rebuilt on his own terms. Chapter 6. The Preparation. Azure Key gleamed in the late afternoon sun as Russell's chartered helicopter approached the island's helipad. From above, the property looked like a jewel set in the turquoise Caribbean waters. White sand beaches, lush tropical vegetation, and the red-tiled roofs of the villa complex rising from the center of the island. Maurice awaited him with two staff members, their faces carefully neutral as the helicopter touched down. No questions, no congratulations about his lottery win, just professional courtesy and efficiency. Russell had chosen his new team precisely for these qualities. "Welcome to your home, Mr. Dawson," Maurice said as Russell stepped onto the helipad. "Everything has been prepared according to your specifications." "Thank you, Maurice. Let's get started immediately." The next 48 hours unfolded with military precision. While Russell's former life exploded into chaos, news coverage of the mysterious lottery winner, Vanessa's increasingly frantic attempts to contact him, social media speculation, he methodically established his new existence on Azure Key. In the island's newly constructed command center, Russell and Diana Mercer conducted a secure video conference to finalize the legal framework of his separation from his previous life. "The trust structure is complete," Diana explained, her image crystal clear on the large monitor. "Your lottery winnings are fully protected. I've prepared the separation documents as instructed, outlining the division of pre-lottery assets." "What about the house and existing accounts?" Russell asked. "As you requested, Vanessa will retain the family home and joint accounts established prior to the lottery win. It's generous, considering the circumstances." Russell nodded. "And the children's trust funds?" Diana's expression remained carefully neutral. "Also maintained as established. They'll receive their educational funding as originally planned. Nothing more, nothing less." "Good. What's the status on Vanessa's attempts to access the lottery funds?" Diana allowed herself a small smile. "Predictable. She's claiming entitlement to half as your spouse. However, the trust structure and the timing of our filings have created significant legal obstacles for her. My team is prepared for whatever approach she takes." "And Vincent Harmon? We've initiated a confidential report to the Securities and Exchange Commission regarding Platinum Horizon Investments. The investigation is already underway, though Mr. Harmon doesn't know it yet." Russell considered this information, feeling not vindictive pleasure, but a cold satisfaction that justice would eventually find its course. "What about the calls?" he asked. 77 missed calls from Vanessa's number as of an hour ago," Diana confirmed. "Plus dozens more from your children, Pamela Winters, and various others. As instructed, all calls to your previous number are being documented but not answered. And my new identity preparations? In progress. Your Azure Key residence is established under the trust. Banking, communications, and travel arrangements are secured through privacy protocols. You can move freely using the new documentation when necessary, though I recommend minimal public exposure for at least 6 months." After the call concluded, Russell toured the island with Maurice, reviewing the security systems and privacy measures that would protect his sanctuary from intrusion. The perimeter monitoring includes underwater sensors for approaching vessels, Maurice explained as they examined the security hub. Drone detection and countermeasures are active. All staff have signed enhanced confidentiality agreements with substantial financial incentives for loyalty. "What about communications?" Russell asked. "Completely secure. Satellite internet with military-grade encryption. Private cell network limited to the island. All external communications are routed through anonymizing protocols." Russell nodded approvingly. "In the workshop?" Maurice led him to a newly constructed building overlooking the Eastern Cove. Inside, Russell found a woodworker's paradise. Every tool and machine he had ever wanted, arranged in a space designed for both functionality and inspiration. Large windows provided natural light and ocean views, while a covered outdoor area offered space for larger projects. "The materials you requested are in the storage room," Maurice added. "Exotic hardwoods, marine-grade components, and the model ship supplies." Russell ran his hand along a workbench, feeling the smooth, solid surface beneath his fingers. This space, more than a luxury villa or any other amenity, represented what he had been seeking the freedom to create on his own terms. "It's perfect," he said quietly. That evening, as Russell sat on the main villa's terrace watching the sunset, his satellite phone chimed with a message from Diana. Email delivered to Vanessa as scheduled. Reaction immediate and explosive. Preparing for legal countermeasures. Russell set down the phone and sipped his whiskey, feeling neither triumph nor regret, only a strange, calm certainty that he had done what was necessary. Below the terrace, waves crashed against the shoreline in a steady, primordial rhythm that seemed to whisper, "This is real. This is now. This is where you begin again." The following morning brought the next phase of Russell's plan. In his office within the main villa, he connected via secure video with Leo Nelson to review the strategic information release. "The social media posts are ready," Leo confirmed. "Just subtle enough to be discovered rather than announced. Private island purchase by the Horizon Trust. Renovation contracts with exclusive designers. Staffing agreements with top hospitality professionals. All traceable to Azure Key with minimal effort." "And the timeline?" Russell asked. "Staggered over the next week. By the time Vanessa and the kids return from Paris, the internet will be buzzing with speculation about the lottery winner's island paradise." "What about Vincent's situation?" Leo's expression turned grim. "SEC investigation is gaining momentum. 2 former clients have come forward with complaints after seeing the news about Platinum Horizon. The house of cards is wobbling, Russell." Russell nodded, feeling no satisfaction but a sense that natural consequences were unfolding as they should. Later that day, as Russell unpacked his personal items in the master suite, Maurice appeared with a tablet displaying breaking news. "You might want to see this, sir." The screen showed Vanessa outside their former home, surrounded by reporters. Her face was tear-streaked, but her expression calculated as she spoke into the microphones. "I'm shocked and heartbroken by my husband's disappearance. After 25 years of marriage, to learn about his lottery win from the news while I'm traveling with our children is devastating. I just want Russell to come home so we can talk about our future together." The camera panned to show Zoe and Caleb standing behind her, their expressions a practiced blend of confusion and concern. In the background, barely visible at the edge of the frame, stood Vincent Harmon, his face carefully turned away from the cameras. "Shall I continue monitoring the coverage, sir?" Maurice asked. "Yes," Russell replied, "but filter it. I don't need every statement, just significant developments." "Of course. And the calls to your old number?" Russell considered for a moment. "How many now?" 77 from Mrs. Dawson alone. A symbolic number, Russell thought. 77 calls from a woman who hadn't truly spoken to him in years. No response, he decided. From now on, Diana Mercer is their only point of contact. As Maurice left, Russell opened the unfinished boat model he had brought from his old workshop. The half-completed vessel, a replica of a Caribbean trading schooner, represented both his past and his future. He would complete it here, on this island, as a testament to his new beginning. Russell placed the model on a table overlooking the ocean and unwrapped his tools. As the sun began to set on his second day of freedom, he began to work on the intricate details of the ship's rigging, his hands steady and purposeful. Let them search. Let them plead. Let them manipulate and scheme. He was building something new now, something they couldn't touch or tarnish. A life without pretense, without mockery, without betrayal. A life that was finally, truly his own. Chapter 7. The Revelation. Paris in late spring should have been magical. Sidewalk cafes overflowing with patrons, the Seine reflecting centuries of history, gardens blooming in riotous color. For Vanessa Dawson, however, the City of Light had transformed into a nightmare landscape of unanswered calls and mounting panic. "Try him again," she demanded, pacing the elegant living room of Pamela's apartment near the Arc de Triomphe. "He must answer eventually." Zoe looked up from her phone, her carefully applied makeup doing little to hide her distress. Voicemail. Again. That's the 30th time today. Caleb sprawled on the designer sofa, his earlier excitement about Paris replaced by sullen calculation. "He's ghosting us. Obviously. He can't just disappear," Vanessa snapped. "He won $300 million, for God's sake." The apartment door opened as Pamela entered with Vincent Harmon. Both wore expressions of barely concealed agitation beneath their designer sunglasses. "Any news?" Pamela asked, dropping her Hermes shopping bags by the door. "Nothing," Vanessa replied. "Diana Mercer's office keeps saying she'll be in touch at the appropriate time." "What does that even mean?" Vincent loosened his tie, eyes darting to his phone as notifications continued to arrive. "My contacts at the Lottery Commission confirmed the prize was claimed through something called the Horizon Trust. It's a complex structure specifically designed for privacy." "But he's my husband," Vanessa insisted. "Half of that money is legally mine." Vincent exchanged a glance with Pamela before responding carefully. "That depends on multiple factors. Timing of the ticket purchase, state laws regarding marital property, trust structures." "What aren't you telling me?" Vanessa demanded. Before Vincent could answer, Zoe gasped, staring at her phone. "Oh my God, look at this." She turned her screen toward the adults, displaying a social media post from an exclusive real estate account. "Mystery lottery winner purchases private Caribbean island." Sources confirm the recently established Horizon Trust has acquired Azure Key, a 20-acre private island paradise valued at approximately $15 million. The post included drone footage of a stunning tropical island with white sand beaches and a red-roofed villa complex. "That's impossible," Vanessa whispered. "Russell would never." "There's more," Caleb interrupted, looking at his own phone. Some design magazine is reporting that the new owner of Azure Key has commissioned a state-of-the-art woodworking facility and custom boat-building workshop. Vincent grabbed his tablet, fingers flying across the screen. Azure Key. Here it is. 20 acres, completely self-sufficient, previously owned by a tech billionaire. Helipad, deepwater dock, staff quarters. Total privacy. A woodworking workshop? Pamela repeated incredulously. "That sounds like Russell." Vanessa sank into a chair, the reality of the situation finally penetrating her denial. "He knew. He must have known about us, Vincent." An uncomfortable silence filled the apartment as this admission hung in the air. "How could he have known?" Vincent asked finally. "We were careful." Before Vanessa could respond, her phone chimed with an email notification. "It's from Russell," she whispered, opening the message. Her face drained of color as she read aloud. "I know everything. About Vincent, about Paris, about the investment scheme, and about our children's involvement. The house and existing accounts are yours. Beyond that, you'll need to speak with my lawyer. I won't be available." Zoe and Caleb exchanged alarmed glances. "What does he mean, our involvement?" Zoe demanded. "He's bluffing," Caleb insisted, though his voice lacked conviction. Vincent paced the room, his composure cracking. "This is a disaster. If he knows about Platinum Horizon." "What exactly is Platinum Horizon?" Pamela asked sharply. "You told me it was a legitimate investment opportunity." "It is," Vincent insisted. "Mostly. There are some creative accounting methodologies involved." "Oh my God," Vanessa moaned. "He's punishing all of us. The lottery, the island, he planned this." "We need to go back immediately," Zoe declared, "before he spends all the money." "It's too late," Vincent said grimly, looking at his phone. "I just got a message from my office. The SEC has opened an investigation into Platinum Horizon. Someone filed a detailed complaint with documentation I thought was secure." "Russell," Vanessa whispered. "He must have hired someone to investigate us." The realization settled over the room like a toxic cloud. They had severely underestimated Russell Dawson. The man they had mocked as simple and unambitious had orchestrated a masterful disappearance with his fortune, leaving them to face the consequences of their betrayal. "What do we do now?" Caleb asked, his adolescent bravado evaporating. "We go home," Vanessa decided. "Immediately. I'll call Diana Mercer again. There must be something she can do." Half a world away, Russell Dawson stood on the deck of his island villa, watching the sunset paint the Caribbean sky in shades of orange and gold. On a table beside him, his satellite phone displayed a message from Leo. Information cascade initiated. All targets have received preliminary data. Phase 1 complete. Russell smiled and turned off the phone. In the workshop below, The partially completed boat model awaited his attention, a project he could now pursue without mockery or interruption. Tomorrow would bring more legal maneuvers from Vanessa, more desperate attempts at contact, more revelations about Vincent's crumbling investment scheme. But tonight belonged to the sea, the stars, and the profound peace of a man who had finally cut the lines to a life that had become a prison. 3 days later, Vanessa and the children returned to their Oak Ridge Estates home to find Russell's personal items gone. His clothes, his important documents, the family photos he valued, all removed with surgical precision. What remained were the material trappings of their shared life. Furniture, appliances, Vanessa's extensive wardrobe, the children's electronics and sports equipment. Diana Mercer's office had delivered formal separation papers, outlining the division of pre-lottery assets. The family home and its contents, the joint bank accounts, the children's existing college funds, all left in Vanessa's name. Of the lottery winnings, there was no mention, the money secured behind impenetrable trust structures. When reporters gathered outside the house, Vanessa attempted another tearful appeal to public sympathy. My husband has abandoned his family after 25 years of marriage. We just wanted to come home so we can work things out. The performance might have garnered support had Vincent Harmon not been photographed entering the house through the back door that same evening, or had Zoe not posted complaints about missing out on $300 million on her social media accounts before hastily deleting them. As public opinion turned against them, Russell's strategic information release continued. Photos of Azure Key appeared in architectural magazines. Stories about the island's renovation circulated through design blogs. A marine craftsmanship publication featured an interview with a masterboat builder who mentioned being hired by the new owner of Azure Key to consult on a traditional workshop. Each revelation was a twist of the knife for Vanessa and the children. Glimpses of the luxurious life that could have been theirs had they not revealed their true characters through mockery and betrayal. By the time Vincent Harmon was publicly linked to the SEC investigation, the Dawson family's social standing in Oak Ridge had collapsed. Pamela and Owen Winters distanced themselves, fearing association with the emerging scandal. Friends who had laughed at Russell's camping plans now declined Vanessa's invitations. The Paris trip photos, posted with such anticipation, attracted only negative comments about gold diggers and karma. 77 calls became 100, then 200, then more, all unanswered. Diana Mercer's response remained consistent. Mr. Dawson is unavailable. All communication must go through legal channels. For Russell, watching these developments from the peaceful remove of Azure Key brought not joy, but a sense of natural justice unfolding. He had not orchestrated their downfall. He had simply stepped away and allowed the consequences of their own actions to manifest. In his island workshop, as he carefully shaped the wooden hull of his model ship, Russell received one final report from Frank Tillman. CC investigation expanding. Harmon likely to face charges. Vanessa Dawson named as person of interest in relation to solicitation of potential investors. Russell thanked the investigator for his thoroughness and ended their professional relationship. The truth had been uncovered. Now it would follow its own course without his intervention. That evening, as a tropical storm approached the island, Russell sat in his living room reviewing the architectural plans for a community center he was funding in a nearby island nation. The project would bring educational resources and healthcare facilities to an underserved population, the first of many philanthropic endeavors he planned to pursue with his unexpected wealth. As lightning illuminated the churning sea beyond his windows, Russell's satellite phone rang with a number he didn't recognize. Against his better judgment, he answered. Russell Dawson. Russell. Vanessa's voice, carefully modulated to project wounded dignity. Finally, we need to talk. No, we don't, he replied calmly. Everything that needed saying was in my email and the legal documents. You can't just disappear with $300 million and leave your family behind, she protested. What about our marriage? What about our children? Our marriage ended the moment you and Vincent began planning to steal my retirement, Russell stated without emotion. As for Zoe and Caleb, They made their choices when they helped conceal your affair and mocked the father who provided for them. That's not fair. They're just children. They're adults making adult decisions, Russell interrupted. They chose sides, Vanessa. They chose poorly. A crash of thunder punctuated his words, the storm outside matching the emotional turbulence of the conversation. The SEC is investigating Vincent, Vanessa said, her voice smaller now. They've questioned me twice. Our accounts are frozen. Actions have consequences. Is that what this is about? Punishing us? Anger crept in her tone. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Playing the victim while hiding on your private island. Russell's laugh held no humor. That's the difference between us, Vanessa. I'm not playing anything. I'm finally living authentically. No pretense, no performance, no seeking approval for people like Pamela and Owen. We can work this out, she insisted, desperation replacing anger. Family counseling, a new start. You always believed in second chances. I believed in many things that proved false, Russell replied. But you're right about one thing. I'm starting over. Just not with you. You'll regret this, Russell. You'll be lonely on that island with your boats and your wood projects. You need family. I need truth, he corrected her. Something you never offered. The line went silent except for Vanessa's shallow breathing. When she spoke again, her voice had hardened. The lawyers say I can challenge the trust. Fight for my share of the lottery money. It could take years, but eventually. From now on, Russell interrupted. Only my lawyer will talk to you. Goodbye, Vanessa. He ended the call and turned off the phone, the finality of the action bringing unexpected peace. Outside, the storm began to subside, dark clouds giving way to patches of starlit sky. Nature's perfect metaphor for his own journey from darkness into clarity. Russell returned to his workbench, where the partially completed model waited patiently. With steady hands, he continued shaping the vessel that would never need to weather actual storms, but was being crafted with the same care as one that would. Like the boat, his new life was taking form, piece by piece, day by day, guided by the skilled hands of a builder who understood that true strength came not from flashy exteriors, but from the integrity of what lay beneath. Chapter 8. The Confrontation. 6 months after Russell's disappearance from his former life, Azure Key had transformed from a mere island retreat into a true sanctuary. The workshop now housed 3 completed boat models, each more intricate than the last. The villa gardens bloomed with native plants, selected for their resilience against tropical storms. Solar panels gleamed on every rooftop, making the island almost entirely self-sufficient. Russell had established a comfortable routine. Mornings spent overseeing philanthropic projects via secure video conference. Afternoons in the workshop or exploring the island's natural features. Evenings devoted to reading or stargazing from his terrace. The peace he had found surprised even him. Not the lonely exile Vanessa had predicted, but a deliberate, purposeful existence aligned with his true values. Maurice had proven invaluable, managing the island's operations with quiet efficiency while respecting Russell's privacy. The small staff maintained the property without intruding on his solitude. Visitors were rare and carefully vetted, primarily specialists consulted for specific projects or representatives from the charitable foundations Russell now funded. The legal battles initiated by Vanessa had progressed exactly as Diana Mercer predicted, aggressive at first, then increasingly desperate as courts upheld the trust structures and legal separations Russell had established. The SEC investigation into Vincent Harmon had expanded, revealing a pattern of investment fraud spanning years. Several former clients had filed civil suits, further entangling Vanessa in legal complications due to her role in recruiting potential investors. Through it all, Russell maintained his distance, neither gloating over their difficulties nor yielding to occasional pangs of familial attachment. The 77 unanswered calls had become a symbol of his resolve, a reminder that some bridges, once burned, should remain crossed. On a clear October morning, as Russell reviewed plans for a vocational training center he was funding on a neighboring island, Maurice entered his office with an unusual expression of concern. "Mr. Dawson, we have a situation at the marina. A chartered yacht has approached the island requesting permission to dock. The passengers claim to be your family. Russell set down his tablet. How do they find us? Unclear, sir. They have no authorization codes, but they're insisting on seeing you. Security protocol dictates we deny access, but I thought you should be informed before we take action. Russell considered his options. For months, he had maintained absolute privacy through legal buffers and security measures. Direct confrontation had been unnecessary. Now it seemed that luxury had ended. Who exactly is on board? He asked. Maurice consulted his tablet. Vanessa Dawson, Zoe Dawson, Caleb Dawson, and Vincent Harmon. The yacht is registered to a shell company linked to Mr. Harmon, though his assets are supposedly frozen by the SEC investigation. The inclusion of Vincent shifted Russell's perspective from annoyed to intrigued. For Harmon to risk further legal complications by traveling internationally while under investigation suggested desperation, or a calculated gamble with significant stakes. Tell security to maintain distance, but not to force them away yet, Russell decided. I'll meet them at the outer marina. No access to the island itself. Are you certain that's wise, sir? Maurice asked, his professional demeanor not quite concealing his concern. Probably not, Russell admitted with a grim smile. But some confrontations are inevitable. Better to have them on my terms than theirs. 30 minutes later, Russell stood at the end of the island's secondary dock, a smaller structure separated from the main marina by a quarter-mile of coastline. Dressed in simple linen pants and a white shirt, sunglasses shielding his eyes from the tropical sun, he watched as the chartered yacht approached. Through binoculars, he could see Vanessa at the bow, her blonde hair whipping in the breeze. Zoe stood beside her, phone predictably in hand, likely documenting their approach for some planned social media narrative. Caleb and Vincent remained in the covered portion of the deck, their expressions unreadable at this distance. Russell signaled to the security boat patrolling nearby. 2 armed guards, former military personnel now employed as part of the island's protection detail, positioned their vessel between the approaching yacht and the main marina, allowing access only to the secondary dock where Russell waited. As the yacht drew closer, Russell could see the changes 6 months had wrought in his former family. Vanessa looked thinner, her carefully maintained appearance showing signs of strain. Zoe's designer clothes appear to be from previous seasons rather than her usual latest trends. Caleb's sullen posture suggested a teenager still processing the collapse of his privileged world. Vincent Harmon, however, displayed the most dramatic transformation. Gone was the sleek, silver-haired investor who had charmed the winter's social circle. This Vincent looked haggard, his once immaculate appearance now marked by visible anxiety and fatigue. The yacht's captain, clearly uncomfortable with the situation, carefully maneuvered the vessel alongside the secondary dock. Before the engine had fully quieted, Vanessa was already calling out, "Russell, thank God we found you. We need to talk immediately." Russell remained silent, watching as they disembarked. No crew followed them. Only the 4 visitors stepping cautiously onto the dock, suddenly unsure despite their bold approach. "That's close enough," Russell said when they had reached the midpoint of the dock. His voice carried easily over the gentle lapping of waves, stopping them in their tracks. "Dad," Zoe began, stepping forward with practiced emotion. "You can't imagine what we've been through trying to find you." "I can imagine quite precisely," Russell replied evenly, "since I deliberately made it difficult." Caleb scoffed, some of his teenage bravado returning. Was all this really necessary? The disappearing act, the island, cutting us off completely? "Yes," Russell said simply. Vincent stepped forward, his businessman's instincts apparently overriding his better judgment. "Russell, I know we have our differences, but this situation has gotten out of hand. The SEC investigation is based on misunderstandings that could be cleared up if I withdraw the evidence I provided." Russell interrupted. "Not going to happen, Vincent." Vincent paled visibly. You? You were the one who filed the complaint." "Actions have consequences," Russell replied, repeating the phrase he had used in his final conversation with Vanessa. "Your investment scheme would have collapsed eventually. I simply accelerated the timeline." "Dad, please," Zoe pleaded, tears appearing on cue. Everything's falling apart. The house is in foreclosure because of the legal fees. My university said my next semester tuition hasn't been paid. Caleb's private school is threatening to expel him. The trust funds I established for your education remain intact, Russell replied. Diana Mercer has made that clear repeatedly. If payments aren't being made, you should ask your mother where that money is going. All eyes turned to Vanessa, whose composed facade cracked slightly before she rallied. The legal fees are astronomical, Russell. Fighting for what's rightfully ours after you abandoned us. Rightfully yours? Russell's laugh held no humor. Let me remind you of what you said at the winter's dinner. My planned family vacation was embarrassing. Let me remind you what our children said, that they were ashamed to be related to me. And let me remind you what you and Vincent plotted, to drain my retirement savings through a fraudulent investment scheme before leaving me financially devastated. He removed his sunglasses, meeting each of their eyes in turn. You mocked my values. You betrayed my trust. You conspired against me. And now you expect me to save you from the consequences of those actions. We're family, Caleb insisted, the confidence in his voice undermined by the uncertainty in his eyes. We were family, Russell corrected. Before you decided material wealth and social status were more important than integrity or loyalty. Vincent stepped forward again, desperation evident in his stance. Russell, be reasonable. Whatever you think happened, we can work through this. The SEC investigation is destroying lives. My reputation, my career. Your reputation and career were built on deception, Russell interrupted. The SEC didn't create that reality. They simply exposed it. And what about us? Vanessa demanded. You won $300 million and abandoned your family to live on a private island while we lose everything. Russell studied his wife of 25 years, the woman who had once shared his dreams before developing her own agenda. He felt neither hatred nor love, only a distant recognition of someone he had once known intimately, but now understood had been performing a role all along. I left you the house, the accounts, the retirement funds, everything we built together over 25 years, he said quietly. That was fair. The lottery money came after you had already betrayed me, after our children had already chosen sides, after you had already planned your future with Vincent using money stolen from me. He gestured toward the island behind him. This place, what I've built here, this is my second chance. Something I earned through the simple act of being exactly who I've always been, while you were all pretending to be something you're not. So that's it. Zoe cried. You're just going to leave us with nothing while you live in paradise? Not nothing, Russell corrected. Reality. The reality you created through your own choices. Vincent made a last, desperate attempt. There must be some arrangement we can reach. Some compromise that allows everyone to move forward. Perhaps a settlement. From now on, Russell interrupted, his voice firm but calm. Only my lawyer will talk to you. All of you. He nodded to the security boat, which immediately moved closer to the dock. You have 30 minutes to return to your yacht and leave my waters. After that, you will be considered trespassing and appropriate measures will be taken. You can't do this, Vanessa shouted, her composed facade finally shattering completely. I'm still your wife. Those are your children. Russell replaced his sunglasses and turned to walk back toward the island. Over his shoulder, he delivered his final words to the family who had once been his world. Actions have consequences. You chose yours. I chose mine. As he walked away, he heard their continued protests, Vanessa's angry demands, Zoe's theatrical sobs, Caleb's sullen threats, Vincent's desperate negotiations. But each step took him further from their voices and closer to the peace he had built for himself. Maurice met him at the end of the dock with a golf cart to transport him back to the main complex. Everything all right, sir? He asked discreetly. Russell watched as the security team supervised his former family's reluctant return to their yacht. Yes, he said finally. Everything is exactly as it should be. That evening, as the sun set over the Caribbean, Russell sat on his terrace with a glass of scotch, reflecting on the day's confrontation. He had anticipated feeling anger, perhaps even lingering attachment. Instead, he had experienced only clarity, the absolute certainty that he had made the right decision in walking away. His satellite phone chimed with a message from Diana Mercer, yacht departing island waters. Monitoring continued legal situation. SEC filing additional charges against VH. All trust structures remain secure. Russell sent a brief acknowledgement and turned off the phone. Below his terrace, the workshop lights glowed softly, beckoning him to the half-finished model of a traditional fishing vessel, a project that now seemed more compelling than dwelling on the past. As darkness settled over Azure Key, Russell descended the steps to his workshop, the confrontation already fading from his thoughts like the wake of a departing boat on the vast, indifferent sea. Chapter 9. The Last Laugh. 1 year to the day after claiming his lottery prize, Russell Dawson stood at the helm of the Azure Dreamer, a 42-foot sailing yacht custom-built to his specifications. The vessel represented the culmination of his journey, from the model ships he had crafted in his garage workshop to this full-sized masterpiece designed for both solitary exploration and the occasional journey with new friends. The morning sun glinted off the polished teak deck as Russell guided the yacht through the crystal waters surrounding Azure Key. At 53, his body had grown leaner and more weathered from days spent working outdoors, his salt and pepper hair now more salt than pepper, his eyes clearer after months without the stress of his former life. "Perfect conditions today, sir," observed Carlos, the young marine biologist Russell had hired to help establish a coral restoration project around the island. One of several dedicated professionals now working on Russell's environmental initiatives, Carlos represented the new type of relationship Russell had cultivated, based on shared values and mutual respect rather than obligation or pretense. "Couldn't ask for better," Russell agreed, feeling the steady Caribbean breeze filling the sails. The eastern reef should be visible soon. As the yacht glided toward their destination, Russell reflected on the year that had transformed his existence. The confrontation at the marina had proven to be the final significant interaction with his former family. Subsequent attempts at contact had been handled entirely through legal channels, as promised. The lawsuits Vanessa had filed challenging the lottery trust had been dismissed one by one, her legal resources dwindling with each defeat. Vincent Harmon had eventually pleaded guilty to multiple counts of securities fraud, accepting a reduced sentence in exchange for cooperation with authorities investigating larger financial crimes. His testimony had implicated several other members of the Winters social circle, including Owen himself, in various schemes that had enriched their lavish lifestyles. Pamela and Owen had divorced amid the scandal, their Paris apartment and other properties sold to cover legal expenses and settlements. The social world that had once mocked Russell's camping plans had collapsed like a house of cards, revealing the hollow foundations beneath its glossy exterior. Zoe had eventually accessed her education trust to transfer to a less prestigious university, her social media presence transforming from displays of luxury to carefully curated images of authentic living that rang as false as her previous persona. Caleb, facing the reality of diminished prospects, had grudgingly accepted a state university scholarship, his once entitled attitude tempered by necessity, if not genuine growth. Russell monitored these developments not from vengeful satisfaction, but from a perspective of a man watching a cautionary tale unfold from a safe distance. The lesson: that character ultimately matters more than appearance, that integrity eventually counts for more than status, was one he had always understood, but his family had refused to learn until too late. "Reef approaching, sir," Carlos called out, interrupting Russell's reflections. Initial restoration sites are showing remarkable progress. Russell adjusted course, focusing on the present moment, the true gift his unexpected fortune had provided. Not the island or the yacht or the financial freedom, but the opportunity to live deliberately, to align his actions with his values without compromise or apology. The Azure Dreamer sailed smoothly over the protected waters of the Eastern Coral Sanctuary. Below the surface, vibrant marine life thrived among carefully cultivated reef structures, tangible evidence of restoration and renewal. After completing their survey of the restoration project, Russell and Carlos returned to the main island, where Maurice awaited with updates on the day's business. The community center on St. Lucia is completed, Maurice reported as they walked toward the main villa. The vocational training programs can begin next month as scheduled. Also, Ms. Mercer sent the quarterly trust report for your review. Thank you, Maurice. Anything else? Maurice hesitated briefly. A personal letter arrived. From your son, Caleb. It bypassed the usual legal channels. Russell accepted the envelope with mixture of curiosity and caution. I'll review it later. In his study, after showering and changing from his sailing clothes, Russell opened Caleb's letter. The handwritten pages revealed a young man struggling to reconcile his entitled past with a more modest present. Dad, I'm writing against Mom's wishes and without her knowledge. She and Zoe are still bitter, still plotting ways to get our share of your money. I wanted to be angry too. It was easier than facing the truth. The truth is, we were awful to you. I've had a lot of time to think about it since everything fell apart. The way we mocked your camping trips. The way we treated your work and your hobbies like they were embarrassing. The way we acted like we deserved more than what you already gave us. I'm not writing to ask for money. I know that ship has sailed, probably on your actual ship, which I saw in some magazine. I'm writing because I'm trying to figure out who I am without all the status and stuff I thought was important. My scholarship covers tuition, but not much else. I got a job at a construction site to pay for my apartment. The foreman reminds me of you sometimes. He's teaching me things about building that I should have learned from you years ago if I hadn't been such a jerk. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even know if you'll read this. But I wanted you to know that at least one of us finally understand what you were trying to teach us all along. Caleb, P.S. I still have the fishing lure you made me when I was 10. It's the only thing I kept from before. Russell set the letter aside. Emotions he had thought long resolved stirring beneath his composed exterior. Not regret for the path he had chosen, but a more complex feeling, recognition that beneath the entitlement and mockery, his son might possess the capacity for growth that Vanessa and Zoe seemed to lack. After careful consideration, Russell composed a brief response. Caleb, thank you for your letter. Self-awareness is the beginning of wisdom. The work you're doing, both construction and self-examination, is valuable. Keep at it. The fishing lure was purple heartwood. The grain is naturally water-resistant. Good choice to keep it. Russell. He sealed the envelope with no return address and no invitation for further correspondence. If Caleb was genuinely changing, he would need to find his own path without Russell's intervention. Some journeys could not be shared. That evening, as had become his custom on significant anniversaries, Russell hosted a small gathering on his terrace for the island staff and several colleagues from his philanthropic projects. Unlike the ostentatious parties of his former social circle, this celebration featured simple, excellent food, meaningful conversation, and genuine appreciation for each person present. Leo Nelson, visiting from the mainland to discuss a sustainable housing initiative, raised his glass as sunset painted the sky in brilliant hues of orange and pink. To Russell, he proposed, who had the courage to start over when most of us would have just compromised. As glasses clinked around the table, Russell felt a sense of completion that had nothing to do with revenge and everything to do with authenticity. The journey from mocked husband to self-determined man had been neither planned nor easy, but it had proven essential. Later, after his guests had departed and the island had grown quiet under a canopy of stars, Russell stood alone at the edge of his terrace, overlooking the Caribbean. In the distance, lights from passing ships marked the boundaries between his sanctuary and the wider world, a world he now engaged with entirely on his own terms. He thought briefly of the camping trip that never happened, the mockery that had crystallized his discontent, and the lottery ticket that had provided not just wealth, but the catalyst for transformation. The confluence of humiliation and opportunity had created something unexpected, freedom in its truest form. Russell smiled as a shooting star traced a brilliant path across the night sky. The universe, it seemed, occasionally offered cosmic justice along with its random distribution of fortune. His family had mocked his modest vacation plans while plotting to take what little he had. Now they struggled in the wreckage of their own, making, while he had found peace in abundance. It wasn't about the money, though the money had made it possible. It wasn't about the revenge, though justice had been served. It was about the principle that had guided him all along. Authenticity could not be bought or sold, only lived or betrayed. As he turned to walk back into his home, a home built on integrity rather than pretense, Russell realized that in the great cosmic joke of life, he had indeed had the last laugh, not with malice or gloating, but with the quiet satisfaction of a man who had finally become exactly who he was meant to be. The last laugh wasn't an explosion of triumph or a declaration of victory. It was the gentle sound of waves against the shore of his island, the whisper of wind through palm trees, the distant call of seabirds returning home at dusk, the soundtrack of a life reclaimed and rebuilt, one conscious choice at a time. And it was, Russell decided as he closed the terrace doors behind him, the sweetest sound he had ever heard. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.